everyone, and welcome to the Woolly Wonka Fibers podcast. My name is Anne, and this is a video podcast about my knitting, my spinning, indie dye and indie design business, and some other general crafty good things. Today is Monday, the 13th of February, 2017. If you are a new viewer, welcome. I hope you find some things to occupy your next half hour or so that are of interest. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you as always for choosing to tune back in and spend a little of your day with me. I hope everyone's doing great. I'm a little under the weather today, but since I'm about 1 week out before I leave for Stitches West, I thought, I better just go ahead and get this done. So you'll excuse me if I take some tea breaks and clear my throat and all of that. We had a little winter storm come through, so we had maybe an inch or two of snow overnight, which was a big change because it had been unseasonably warm here, easily mid-60s, low 70s the end of last week. Beautiful, but not winter weather and not really very like what we normally have for February. So I'm sure the kind of gloomy day isn't necessarily helping my cold, but the sun will be out soon enough. It always is here in New Mexico. So let's see. Let's talk about a few housekeeping things. Stitches West is coming up in about a week. I will be taking off for California. Stitches West runs Thursday the 23rd of February through Sunday the 26th of February. So I will be vending at the market there. I'm in booth 120 this year, so if you are planning to attend, I would love to have you stop by and say hello, and you can take a look at all the things that I've dragged along with me to have in the booth. This year I will be taking along both my Nimue sock and DK weights. I'll have some new colorways in those. I'll have kits packed up for kind of a grab and go section. So if you just want to swing through and just want to pick up a quick project, they'll have the yarn and the patterns all together. You can zip on back to your hotel room and sit and knit if that is kind of one of your things that you like to do. I will have some handspun. I will have my Rhiannon sock, which is the superwash merino nylon sock base. Great kind of workhorse sock yarn. I'll have my Aran Road sock, which is the sock weight yarn with the little bit of glitter in it. I'll have it in both regular skeins and gradients. I will be introducing kind of a new thing. If you have followed me on Instagram at all, you know that I've been posting my perfect pairings, which are 2 skeins of sock yarn that are colors that work really great together in case you're in the market for a 2-color shawl or cowl or some other project that takes 2 colors. I have translated those colorways into a self-striping sock yarn, so that will also be available on my Rhiannon base. There'll be just 2 colors, 4 stripes each, evenly spaced down the sock, and it will be a number of the more popular perfect pairings that I have posted, say that 3 times fast, over the last couple of months on Instagram. So it'll be things like Unicorn, which is a speckle dye, and Miss Fanny Price, which is the tonal dye that coordinates with it. I'll have some Chawton Cottage along with Miss Marianne Dashwood. Some other fun things that will be kind of up and coming. So definitely, if you are interested in that, please stop by the booth. I will have all of those there. Patterns, book copies, copies of Filament Magazine, all of those. So we'll have a full carload heading west. It's a 2-day drive for me. It's a long haul. It's not too bad until you get to about Bakersfield, and then Bakersfield to San Jose is, the traffic is absolutely nuts. But I will go along and go along. I'll have one overnight stop in Arizona on my way west. That'll be Tuesday night. I'll be in California Wednesday, then Thursday through Sunday, and then turn around and start the drive back Monday morning, the 27th of February. And then we'll be on to Yarn Fest, which I'll talk about next time I see you guys. The other thing that I was going to mention, I will be having booth specials in my booth at Stitches West. Each day there'll be a different product that will have either some kind of discount or like a bundle where if you buy the whole bundle of things like the pattern and enough yarn to complete the project, you'll get a discount. Those will be available in limited quantities, and this year we've got a social media contact person, so I'm going to try to push stuff out to her. If you look for Stitches West or Stitches at Stitches Events on Instagram, you can see what things I've got as well as other vendors that are kind of promotional or special Stitches West things that will be going on each day that Stitches West Marketplace runs. And one of those things is going to be a brand new pattern from me, which is this shawl. It's a 2-color shawl. The pattern will release next week, so you can pick it up separately on Ravelry if you're not going to be attending Stitches West, because I know not everybody gets to go. It's done with a speckle dye. This is a brand new colorway called Koi Pond, which is also the name of the pattern. It's a turquoise base, and then it's got kind of bronze and yellow speckles on it. And then the contrast color is tangerine, which is a nice, bright, cheerful orange. So this is an elongated crescent shawl, which I think you guys can see. Very straightforward. It's just got some garter stitch texture rows, and then it's finished off with rows of eyelets and a picot hem. It's a really nice, generous size, so you can wrap it easily all the way around. Can tie it in the front if you're so inclined, and pretty straightforward. Sock weight yarn, 2 colors. You'll need between 350 and 375 yards per color to complete it as written. And once this goes live, you can also go over and check out my test knitter, Jen. Thank you, Jen, for zipping through this for me since you knew I was on a deadline. She did hers in a totally different set of colorways that she had in stash, and it came out absolutely gorgeous. So I'll encourage you to go over and check hers out as well. It's a nice versatile project, easy to wear. So I will have supplies for that plus patterns in the booth. I believe that will be the kind of kickoff marketplace for Friday morning's special. So if you're interested in that, swing on by fairly early to make sure that you can grab yourself a version of that and not miss out in case things sell out. I sold out of a lot of stuff last year, so trying to take enough, but it's hard to guess. So I think that's about it. I will include a link. I will update the link in the show notes when the pattern goes live, which, like I said, will probably be next week on Monday, which would be the 20th, just before I take off. So that is, I think, all I need to tell you guys for stitches. That's a ton of information, so hope you were ate your Wheaties this morning and took some notes. All right, what I am currently working on, I am knitting like an insane fiend on 2 sweaters and an accessory set. I'm going to try to finish one of the sweaters up tonight. It's close, really, really close. I'm hoping. We'll see. Today's been kind of a weird, unsettled day. I've just had a lot of stuff pop into my email box that I had to deal with and run a bunch of errands and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. We'll see if I get that done. But if I do get that completed, then I am almost at the halfway point on the second sweater, which would make me feel very good to get that done maybe in the next 10 days. And then the smaller accessory set I can easily take care of. The last two pieces are for the winter of 2017 Filament Magazine. Kathleen and I are trying to shoot photos for that 6 months ahead. So we've got a little more seasonally appropriate backdrop. With the snow we just got, with any luck, that will work out just fine. Yeah, so right now, no personal knitting. I'm target locked on finishing up deadline projects for the next couple of months. So that takes us to spinning. I do have a finished spin to share with you guys. This is the January Fiber Club from Willy Wonka Fibers. It is the A Wrinkle in Time colorway. It's the base fiber is Blueface Leicester, one of my favorites, and this was the hand paint colorway. So it's came out as a 2-ply. Let's see if I get it to focus a little bit better. Kind of, sort of. It wants to focus behind. 2-ply worsted weight, 213 yards, and it's about 3.5 ounces. I think if you guys remember, I told you I had been a little short on my ordering for what I thought I would need for the first go round of the Fiber Club because we had so many orders this year. So I had a short, this braid was short. It wasn't a full 4 ounces. So the finished skein is about 3.5 ounces, but plenty here to make a pair of mittens or a squishy hat. The colors I absolutely love. There's little tiny pops of the pink in there with all the greens and blues. I just really like that. So I'm very happy with how this came out. So that is the January fiber, and it is actually still quite damp. It's going on the drying rack once I'm done podcasting. So that is finished. And for those of you who are in the Fiber Club, your packages will be shipping out tomorrow for February. And this month we are focusing on the inspiration, a copy of the children's classic, The Secret Garden. One of my favorites. If you're interested in seeing the inspiration, you can pop over to the Ravelry thread. In the Fiber Club thread, I have posted the first 3 months worth of book covers that we're using for inspiration for January, February, and March. So the 2 colorways I spun up, or that I dyed up, were on merino, 80% merino, 20% silk, one of my favorite bases. The hand paint folks are going to be getting a gradient. It starts with a very, very pale, almost white pink, goes into a deeper pink, and then that is really showing up much more gray than it is in real life. Sort of dusty rose, and then a darker lavender-y rose. The tonal dye folks are going to be getting a full braid of this darkest color that's got kind of some lavenders and roses mixed in with it. So I thought that would be a fun one because, you know, with Valentine's Day coming up, and February to me is a month where the smaller pale flowers, hyacinths, cyclamens, things like that, that reminds me of very, very early spring. So this is the colorway for the hand paint folks who have picked that. That is coming your way this week. You should have it before the weekend so you can start spinning it if you're so inclined. This is the braid I'm keeping for myself, and this will be going on the wheel next. It pushes a whole bunch of buttons, some of the prompts in our Ravelry group that's Spin from Stash. We're working on pinks or reds, as well as a fiber you love to spin, and I love anything that's a silk blend, so twofer, all good. We'll probably spin this one up fairly finely and use it for a shawl because I love gradients in shawls, so that is the current plan for this guy. Let's see. I think that's it for spinning. Let's talk a little bit about my stitching. I have not done very much stitching this week, and this will be a broken record for a little while. I'm just got a lot of other things going on, so I put in a little bit of time when I can, but not doing a lot of focus stitching right now. This is the Village of Hawk Run Hollow. I showed you guys this last time, I believe. I'm working on block 2 right here. I've finished up the personalization where it says Advent Church, and I've got one Weeping Willow mostly done. It needs to have the leaves put on, and I started the church in the center, and then this will be a second tree to match this tree. So I don't think I'm quite even halfway done this block. Not sure I'll get it finished for February, even though that was kind of a goal, but I may take it with me on the road if I get enough of my work knitting accomplished. Do that in the evenings rather than taking spinning with me this year. And then last, I've had so many comments and so many responses, feedback about book suggestions. I certainly am going to continue to tell you guys what it is I'm reading. Reading is kind of my relaxation thing. I try to do it for a chapter at lunch, and if I can stay awake, a couple chapters at night. So this past week, what I read was a book my dad had sent me by Peter Beagle called Summerlong. You might know this author. He is the author of the book The Last Unicorn, which I read last year. One of my favorites. If you like this author's style of writing, you will probably like this book too. I don't think it's as strong a book as The Last Unicorn, but it has a very similar tone, a kind of almost bittersweet wistfulness to the writing. The book takes place in current day on Puget Sound. The main sort of 3 characters in it is a retired professor, his longtime partner, who's a stewardess, and her daughter from her first marriage. And all 3 of them kind of have their own baggage and are going through life in their own little spheres until this young woman arrives on the island to work as a waitress. And strange things begin to happen with the weather, and lots of changes take place in the 3 main characters' lives that all kind of pivot around this central character. And there is a myth. It's sort of a retelling of a myth or a revitalization of a classic myth that is wrapped up in this story. And I did pretty good. I mean, I had figured it out before the big announcement where it kind of tells you what the myth is you're supposed to have figured out. So it wasn't like a huge surprise, but I did really like the way that the author pulled in the sort of mythical realm and history of the myth into the contemporary world, and how these 3 people interpret it, and how this young woman affects their lives. So not a tough read, not a long read. A lovely, soft, quiet book. This would be a great book to take on vacation because it's that kind of like escape from your everyday sort of book. Really nice, gentle story. So I would say a 4-starter out of 5, 3 3/4 out of 5. Again, I liked The Last Unicorn better, but I do really like Peter Beagle's writing style and certainly enjoyed this one. So that was last week's book. This week, I have been reading a collection of short stories called Beyond the Woods, Fairy Tales Retold. And this book actually happens to have a short story by Peter Beagle, but it's also got a fair number of other folks whose names you probably recognize if you read any kind of contemporary fantasy type stories. This is one my dad sent me. It's a very mixed bag. I like it. I like the theory of this. I love, fairy tales, myths retold. Obviously, I read a lot of those. There's some really kind of horror story kind of ones in here, and I know, the original fairy tales were that. They were not Disney versions. They were ones where the little kids did get eaten and attacked by wolves and things like that. But there are some really creepy stories in this one that are not really to my taste, and there's been a couple that were just a little bit too out there that I sort of skimmed through. On the other hand, there are probably twice as many in here that are really well written, really wonderful twists on fairy tales we think we know. Let's see, there was a retelling of Red Riding Hood that was set in the future with space voyages. That was very interestingly done. And I'm about halfway through this right now. The Neil Gaiman story that's in here is about 6 pages long, but it is absolutely the best one in this collection. So I'm enjoying it. I'm, like I said, a little more than half done. Probably will finish this up this week as I go along. These are nice to read when I'm super busy because they're either short enough I can read one whole thing at a time and then I'm done with it, or even if it's a short story that has chapters, the chapters are all only, 7 or 8 pages long. So I will finish this up and then look at what I want to take as a travel book with me. I always take something to read on the road. I kind of have to have like my 5 minutes to read before I fall asleep and kind of regroup in the evenings. So I think that's it for this week. I know this was really short and kind of back of a galloping horse, but I wanted to get it done to give you guys information about Stitches West for those of you attending. And I will not be recording on Monday the 27th because even though that's my next normal recording day, I will be on the road. So I will try to record sometime around the 1st when I'm back, give you guys some updates about how Stitches went and talk to you a little bit about the spring filament that will be releasing March 1st. As well as kind of looking ahead to Yarn Fest in Colorado at the end of March. You can always find me on Instagram and Facebook as Woolly Wonka Fibers if you want to have kind of more up-to-the-minute updates about things that are going on. I do try to post there fairly regularly, and of course you can always find some information about where I'll be, shows I'm attending on the Ravelry group, Woolly Wonka Fibers group. Up at the top, there's a list of the shows that I'm doing in the next 6 months. So I will hope to see you guys then. And until then, till the 1st of March, have a great rest of your February. Take care.